Today I want to talk a little bit about arcade cabinet acquisitions. It's it's something that I get a lot of questions about, but it's also something that I mostly get questions about from strangers. So I figured that a video might be helpful because I think a lot of the people who have these kinds of questions don't know me or don't know anyone involved or invested in this hobby. Today I mostly want to talk a little bit about acquiring To Buy A Vewlixes. Specifically because we are in a moment in time where you can get To Buy A Vewlixes, like pretty consistently. A To Buy A Vewlix is a cabinet that someone can have. If someone wants to come up and ask me about, how do I get an E-Group 2, or how do I get a Mini Cute, or how do I get this thing or that thing, I can't even consistently tell people how to get a decent Astro with a decent monitor, or a decent Blast with a decent monitor anymore. So just like having like consistent resources for those kinds of cabinets that have been out of production for as long as they have is pretty much impossible, and you do have to get really persistent and really aggressive, and sometimes you have to end up spending a lot of money to find those kinds of cabinets. And that's just kind of where we are in the hobby, in the market, and that's how the secondary market is, and it's a gray market. None of this stuff was imported to the United States in a traditional manner. So just traditional distribution is like not an easy thing. A lot of people, when they're trying to acquire arcade cabinets, one of the most frustrating things for them is there's no just like store to go to. They can't just like go on Amazon and like buy a freaking whatever candy cab of their dreams. And yeah, that's just how it is. This is a hobby that takes like a lot of persistence and a lot of patience, and it can be exhausting and really annoying. But one thing that you can get pretty consistently right now, and it's a really cool thing to have, is a To Buy A Vewlix. To Buy A Vewlixes, there's like a bajillion of them out there right now. They're very available. A lot of the prices on them have been dropping. I think I've seen some people in the last year or two get blue diamonds for like for under $2,000, which is just like amazing. I think some of the prices on some of the models will probably keep dropping, and some of the prices on some models will end up going back up, depending on which ones end up being more collectible and which ones end up being more popular. But there's a lot of different thoughts and considerations that should go on when someone's considering getting a To Buy A Vewlix. But I think that they're really worthwhile having, and I think right now we're in this we're right now in the golden age of getting Vewlixes that we had maybe 10 years ago getting Astros. You used to be able to, in Southern California, the $400 Astro was like this like legendary thing that happened. And we're kind of like entering that golden age for Vewlixes, and that golden age won't last. So this video in itself will probably look really like, whoa, can you remember that in 5 or 10 years? Because Vewlixes will not be this easy to get forever, and now is a great time to get them, and they're awesome. They're super cool. They're super customizable. There's different models depending on what you want to do with it and what you're interested in. You can play your computer on it, you can run Hyperspin, you can play consoles on it, you can run a multi. This is a Taito Type X3 multi that I'm running right here. You can do it's honestly it's like an all-in-one game setup. It can be like the centerpiece to your game room. You can run a 2-player panel and you can play with your friend, or you can get 2 of them and you can play head to head. They're awesome. They're super sweet, and kind of the sky's the limit on them, and as much as you can do with them. They're kind of in a way becoming like the tuner of arcade cabinets. Eventually they're probably going to have like lowered suspension and like spinning rims and like underglow and stuff like that. I think I've actually even seen underglow straight up. But we're like getting to that level of like Tokyo Drift on these cabinets. But they're awesome. They're super sweet, and they're available right now. And so I think that people who are interested in getting arcade cabinets, getting into arcade cabinets, getting into Japanese arcade cabinets, this is a great starting place. And yeah, I was just going to talk a little bit about how to do that, what to be thinking about when you do that, and even a little bit about where to get them, and a little bit about maybe what you should expect to spend as well. So anyways, the Taito Vewlix is like kind of like Taito's like maybe, you know, like it's their most recent line of cabinets. You can still see them in arcades, like even in America. Obviously, they're all over Japan. It's the go-to cabinet for Street Fighter. It's the go-to cabinet for King of Fighters. It's a lot of go-to cabinet for lots of different kinds of like multi games. Nessica X Live and Nessica X Live 2 are like live services that Taito kind of uses throughout arcades to like kind of like, that's kind of a weird way to say it, but you know, it's like a network. It's a network that the cabinets sit on, and you get to like pick whatever game you want to play. This multi kind of simulates the effect of playing on a Nessica X Live cab. If you have a round one anywhere near you where you live, not only is that a great place to look at Vewlixes and kind of get an idea for what one you might be interested in, but you also can probably play some Nessica X Live on those cabinets as well. And that leads me to my first point, which is that you know, picking a model for you, I think, is really important. Vewlix L is like the cheapest model. Diamonds are the most expensive models. L's are the oldest. Verses are kind of like the L, but there's two of them connected to one another. That's actually very cool. Then there's the F and the C, and those are kind of the same model. And then there's an AMI model, which is like something else. I don't even really know that much about the AMI. But the F and the C are really cool. That's like the one that oftentimes you see that is red. The C in particular is the Capcom model. That's the Street Fighter 4 model of the Vewlix cabinet. In a lot of ways, that's usually what people consider like the most bang for your buck, because you can sometimes get those from anywhere from like $1,400 to like $1,800. And yeah, it's awesome. That one has like a light up panel for the move strip. Oftentimes maybe they don't all have that. I believe that's also the one that came with the some of them came with like a light for the marquee space. But that's just a really awesome cabinet. A lot of times people say that has like the best build quality. It came with the JVS IO, which back in the day, especially when the Taito Type X2 multi was like the predominant multi going around, that was like the preferred IO to have for your cab. And it's still a super useful IO because it's an IO that can interface with Naomi or any kinds of like older boards, or just like a lot of boards, honestly. Any USB board basically is going to run JVS. So having a JVS IO is awesome. And so oftentimes getting a C means you get a JVS IO, which can be really cool. More so often these days, the Type of X3 multi runs on JVS IO, or on Fast IO, runs on Fast IO. So a lot of people these days are like searching out Fast IOs. But picking an IO is an important part of picking your cab, and knowing whether or not you're getting an IO when you get one and which IO you're getting is super important. So IOs are the input-output board of your cabinet. This is a USB IO. That's the one that comes natively in the Orange Diamond. This is like the IO that goes with Street Fighter 5 Arcade and stuff like that. There's a lot we don't know about this one because not that many people have it and not that many boards work with it. There's not a lot of information available about it online. I still enjoy having mine. I do plan on messing around with it a bit in the future. Obviously, it's not plugged in right now. I'm running Fast IO inside it for the multi. But yeah, when you buy a Vewlix, you need to wonder, you know, to yourself, is this coming with an IO? Is it not coming with an IO? How much does an IO cost if I'm getting a cabinet that doesn't come with an IO? Where will I be able to source that? People who buy Vewlixes from KC, who's like probably the largest Japanese importer, Japanese cabinet importer in the United States. He's based in Metro Los Angeles, where I am at this moment. will know that his cabinets, at least currently, I think they did back in the day. Mine, I got stuff from him and they came with IOs, but his current cabinets do not come with IOs, so you have to factor that into the price if you're going to deal with KC. There are lots of upsides and downsides of dealing with KC. He's definitely the most polarizing figure in this hobby community. I think you could probably write like 8 books on KC drama. I definitely don't have time to get into any of that today, but keep in mind that if you buy a cabinet from KC, you won't be getting an IO, and IOs are crucial. So the IO is, it's like the central nervous system of your cabinet. All of the inputs going in and out of the cabinet go through this, and that includes the control panel or the coin mech or any of that stuff. Other things to keep in mind is card readers. Some multis require a card reader. So if your cabinet comes with a card reader or a different card reader, so this one, it's actually dangling inside there. This cabinet came with the USB I/O card reader, which is a different card reader than the Fast I/O card reader. This is the Fast I/O card reader, and these were essential in the arcade for letting you use your NESCA card, which is like an RFID card that like stores certain information about you at your cabinet, and lets you bring that information with you anywhere you go. But knowing whether or not you're getting one and how much that costs, and if you're not getting one, if you need one, looking into all the card reader specifics is super important. Certain multis require the card reader, certain multis do not. I believe like the most up-to-date version of the RTAX multi that people are running on Tyvex 3 does not need it, but I think other versions did. And also, if you want your cabinet to look stock, it should probably have this. So for me, I'm interested in kind of keeping my cabinet mostly stock, so I am interested in having the RFID card reader nearby. I've had a little bit of a mishap recently where this one basically got fried, so that's why it's out at the moment, but I'll be putting that back in when I get it fixed. But yeah, so models, the diamond models are a lot more expensive than the FC. They usually come with either USB I/O or Fast I/O. They have the most up-to-date screens. They have, to me, what sound like the loudest and clearest speakers. The loudest, clearest speakers I have heard on any Vewlix that I've had, and I've had an orange diamond and I've had a blue diamond, and then I have friends who have other blue diamonds or FCs and stuff like that. The loudest, clearest speakers I've ever heard are on the orange diamond. Yeah, the screens are a big thing too, because some of these cabinets are getting a little bit older, especially the F, the C, and the L. They have got older screens. A lot of those are like 720p screens, and what's cool is that there's people out there who are creating brackets. Chris at Hadouken Arcade has created a bracket where you can basically swap the monitor on your Vewlix with like any monitor of that size. I think there's like some specifications, but it's like pretty amazing, and it's the quality of picture you're capable of getting on your cabinet with that swap, and it looks all stock and everything like that. But the quality of monitor that you can sneak into these things is like amazing, and the bracket's like not expensive. It's like very, very cool, and the fact that Chris came up with that, I will be talking about Hadouken a little bit later. But it's awesome, and it's something that should be kept in mind if you're looking at an L or an F or a C, because it's on the cheaper end of the spectrum. Don't worry about the monitor not being as good, because you can replace it with like with a 4K monitor, friggin' 8K, but you can replace it with something incredible, and that is a really cool thing to keep in mind. I think some people are interested in having like the model that reflects like the game that they want to play in it. So I think that like the black diamond is cool if you're into Samurai Showdown, or the orange diamond's cool if you're into Street Fighter V. This is the Street Fighter V cab. Blue, I think, was like the Blaze Blue cab and the Persona Arena cab and stuff like that. I think a lot of people who do the Chulix route end up like modifying theirs to look like them anyway, which is like kind of funny. Yeah, so I figured I'd also talk to you guys a little bit about where to buy these cabinets. There's kind of like four major consistent players that I kind of like are in the space selling these at the moment. There's smaller sellers as well. I know Abby has sold some Vewlixes in the past, but Gamesaru, Hadouken, Chris who does the brackets, Casey who love him or hate him or leave him, whatever. He's bringing in more cabs into the United States than anybody else. So unfortunately, if you're interested in this hobby, you will probably have to deal with him at some point. And then the other one is, and this is, I've never actually done business with them because they're based on the East Coast, but might be a resource for people who live out that way, is Ground Zero. I know Ground Zero doesn't currently have any cabinets in, but they are expecting more. One thing that's cool is that Gamesaru is expecting a bunch of black diamond and orange diamonds and FCs coming in, which are like some of maybe the most popular models. So the fact that those are going to be available is great. I think that depending on where you live, freight is a big important question, because you could spend anywhere from like $600 to like maybe $1,400 like shipping the cabinet alone. I've heard that that 2 cabinets sometimes is the same cost shipping wise, freight wise, as 1 cabinet. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Any of these sellers will have freight options available to you. But yeah, expect to spend somewhere from like $1,300 on the lowest level cabinets, $1,500 to $1,800 on like the mid-range cabinets, and then like $2K and up for the diamond cabinets. I do think though that a lot of people, that's why they choose Chulixes. I'm not really a fan of Chulixes. You end up in situations where the control panel isn't like a standard size and the parts don't fit all together and whatever. And honestly, they're still expensive. In my opinion, they're still expensive. The difference to me between like $900 and like $1,300 just isn't like that big of a difference. And if you're going to be like modding it and swapping parts and stuff anyways, maybe it's all the same to you. To me, I think having the real deal is really fun, and the fact that we can do it, as availably as we can right now, is awesome. And yeah, I just wanted to share some of that information with you guys. If anybody has other questions, leave those in the comments below, and I'll try and respond to those as quickly as I can. I will leave in this description information for all of the sellers I mentioned, yeah, Vewlixes are awesome.